Hi everyone. My journey is a very unique and unconventional journey. So I am a mature student, as you know, is referred to. So in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, I decided that I would do midwifery, and I was 45. So that amazes me when I say that number, but in my head, I always feel so passionate about this. So age is just a number. 3 years down the line, I'm still going to be what I am. So, and I have a career of about 20, 25 years. So, absolutely something that if you feel that, oh, have I missed the chance? I really want to do midwifery. No, you haven't. Jump on the boat. 10 years back, I did not know anything about midwifery. Only when I moved to England did I discover midwifery, because I started my career by working in a breastfeeding team in community, and I started working with postnatal midwives, and then slowly moved into hospital and saw what midwives are doing. And it just clicked that, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do. This is somewhere that would make a difference to women and birthing people. So this is the journey that I want to take. It did take me a number of years after having that light bulb moment to actually get into midwifery, because I'm settling into a new country and there are certain things that I need to make sure happens before I jump into doing an education program. So meanwhile, I made sure that I kept myself constantly educating myself. So all the credentials that you had Sue mentioned, fortunately for me, was sponsored by the trust I was working with. So I'm quite grateful for that. And then made sure that I sort of grabbed those opportunities to keep myself updated and informed. So when you want to get into midwifery, if you haven't studied for, say, more than 5 years, then that could become a disadvantage. And this is one of the ways that you can keep yourself, updated. So you're actually not having to deal with that disadvantage when you actually want to apply. So I kept myself educated, kept myself, in the loop. So I knew exactly when I'd be able to apply. In terms of admission, so I applied through UCAS or I could apply to 5 universities, and also discovered that you can actually do a master's program, a pre-registration master's program in midwifery if you already have a bachelor's degree, and it actually can be any subject. So in the south of England, I think it was only Oxford Brookes. And Southampton had it, but I think they had kind of withdrawn that. And in the north, there are a few programs as well. So actually, if you have a bachelor's degree and if you're quite keen, you could do a pre-registration master's, because the practical element of the course is exactly the same as the bachelor's degree, but you will have extra things to do in terms of exams, in terms of clinical exams, as well as academic exams. You have extra work to do in terms of essays, and also you will be marked at a higher level. So year 2 will be marked at level 6, year 3 will be marked at level 7. So these are the differences between doing a bachelor's and a master's. But if you actually have a chance to do that, yes, go for it, because I feel quite well supported. I have not been to university in, 20, 25 years, but I have studied all along. And actually, I feel quite supported by the university, the lecturers, my academic advisor. The librarians were brilliant to, make sure that, they have special programs if you need to upgrade your study skills and things like that. So actually keep you quite well supported. So it's not that daunting as you would think, because it's a master's degree. So through the admission process, I also realized that it's very important for you to choose the university that fits what you want. Yes, it is a very competitive degree. Yes, they are actually doing, a selection process, but you're also doing it the other way around. You want to look for things like how warm you feel in there. That's really, really important, because when you're having a problem later on when you're doing your degree, you want that warmness, you want that support. So you want to understand, how warm are they? How much are they happy to support you in that admission process? Are they willing to talk to you? These things are really important. Where are the placement areas? How soon can you get to? Because if you're doing 13-hour shifts, and then you have to spend another hour to travel home. That's going to be really difficult. So you want to understand that, this university, what are the placements and where I can go? And what is the flexibility around that? Are they willing to listen to you, to listen to what your circumstances are, and sort of, kind of tune as much as possible to make sure that you feel comfortable as well. So I would say it's a two-way process. So actually look at the university, look at the placement areas, and see what would suit yourself better. So having done all of that, so with the 5 applications, 2 of the universities told me that I didn't have enough English and maths, which maths I did some 25 years back. They were evaluating me on something that I did 25 years back. It did not make any sense to me. But then I got 3 other universities who called me for an interview because they wanted to see the whole picture. They wanted to see what you come as a whole package. And that is what, maternity or midwifery is about. You don't look at one part of the thing. You want to look at the whole picture, the macro picture. So that way I was able to, then I got unconditional offers from 3 other universities, and eventually I picked the master's one. So, bear that in mind. If you don't get selected by the university, if you're getting a reject, if you're getting, challenge it. I did challenge it. So, there are ways in which you can challenge it. But at the same time, remember, you are what you are, and you need to you find a university that fits you as well. So that's about the admission process. Now, being a student midwife, I get asked this question a lot. How do you cope when your classmates are far younger than you? And I'll tell you, my son joined university the same year I did. So I have classmates as old as my son, right? And in midwifery, it's very common to have an entire spectrum of age. And when I went into shift last time, my very sweet supervisor told me, "Are you the oldest in the cohort?" And I proudly said, "Yes, I am." And at no point do I feel, worried about it, because initially there was some anxiety, but my classmates are brilliant, and I just love them for that, because they keep me organized. They tell me, what folders to buy, how to organize my record of midwifery achievements, how I need to plan my, day, and all of these things I get from someone who's 20 years younger than me, 15 years younger than me. And I really love it, because they kind of sort me out around that. And then in exchange, I can give them all the knowledge that I've gained over the last 10, 12 years. So it works really well. And I really thank them for that, because I've never made to feel, different or separate. I just blend in with them whenever we go, either whenever we get a chance to go out, or even in uni. So don't be worried about being a mature student. It's absolutely possible to be in uni, even at my age. Now, as being a student midwife, there are a few things. Nicolette has explained a lot of things to you. There are a few things that I will say. When you go into placement for the first time, for the first few weeks, observe what is happening. Just take it all in, absorb it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to, I don't know how to do a blood pressure monitoring, or I can't find the vein, or, I don't know what I'm doing. Don't worry too much about all of this. Your supervisor will make you as comfortable as, it's your first time in midwifery. So just observe what is happening, and then you will learn it by doing it, but also know that you will make mistakes, and that's fine, because you have your supervisor next to you. If you cannot hear, when you're trying to measure somebody's blood pressure, and if you can't hear the sounds you're meant to hear, it's fine. You can say, "I can't hear anything," and then she will kind of sort it out for you. And that's really important, to give yourself that chance. You will make mistakes, you will learn. Don't put pressure on yourself. Just let it, and then soon, suddenly, everything starts clicking. Everything starts working. It's magical, but it happens, because the one thing you need to do is to take every opportunity to do that. And that's important. Don't be worried about, I did not do it last time, because this is constantly in your head as well. I couldn't get blood from the lady before. I don't want to do it next time. And that can run in your head. Try and overcome that. talk to your supervisor, feel, and so many of them are like, okay, Deepa, do you want to take blood from me? So this is what happens in practice. They want to make sure that you're learning, and you don't have to be afraid of making that mistake. So that's one thing. The next thing is, you're not just a student, and I hear this a lot. I hear people apologizing for asking a question. So I'm really sorry, but can you explain this to me? All right, you don't have to apologize. You are there to learn. You are a student. So you actually say, oh, I did not understand that. Could you please explain that to me? Or why does it work this way? Right? So when you keep apologizing for learning, it sort of gets in your head, and at certain points you feel you don't want to be asking. You don't have to do that. You are a student. So just, go ahead and ask this question. Just time it rightly. Maybe not in front of the person with whom, a pregnant woman or a partner and things like that. Maybe just, after they've left, have a quick conversation to say, oh, could you explain that to me, please? And it's as simple as that. They are willing to do that. But, ask those questions, and it's a learning process. And that's really important for you to understand. You're not just a student, you're the future midwife. And we need to learn so that we can become the future, right? So that's another thing. I would say, apart from what's happening academically and in practice, try to enrich yourself. And the way you can enrich yourself, and this is something that I've done, is by attending conferences. Now, COVID, the benefit of COVID is that so many of those are online now, just like we are today. And plenty of them are free for students or very nominal. So, find yourselves conferences. In fact, there are Facebook groups where you can actually look up, say, midwifery conferences and study days. So there are groups like that. There are pages like that. So follow those. So you actually can pick up what are the most, there are so many educative, informative conferences, webinars, and podcasts as well. So my favorite one is the Midwife Cauldron. That I love hearing to that. And the other one is called ObsPod. This is by an obstetrician in London. And she's she's like an honorary midwife. So, I love listening to Dr. Florence. So choose what appeals to you, find something. And when you're traveling, it's nice to pick up these extra learning, because then when you go into and you say you're learning about perineal tears, you know what's happening in the latest around that subject. And you can pick that up quite well by doing these things. And I use Twitter a lot. So use social media for that purpose. Twitter, you get, updates. You can follow people who are experts in that subject, and they can keep you updated. And this will go a long way once you qualify as well, or through the next 3 years. So, this is a way you can enrich yourself apart from what's happening, normally at uni or at placement. So that's something that I do regularly. When you're in placement or when you're in uni, you are going to have minor irritants, frustrations, feeling angry, or, there are moments going to be like that. And I always tell myself, eyes on the goal, don't let the minor irritations or the frustrations sort of affect you, because you want to tell yourself that I'm above that and I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve. So it's really important to tell yourself the eyes on the goal. That doesn't mean that you ignore something that you really feel you need to call out. So like Sue mentioned the water campaign, and I really felt bad for students, midwives, other healthcare professionals who are literally doing their jobs, being dehydrated for no reason whatsoever. So things like that, you can actually start a campaign. You can have the support of your university, your academic advisor. You can speak to the trust. You can speak to the ward matron. And there are also people who are called as speaking up champions. So if you're having any issues, any difficulties, and if you see something that is wrong in the way the service is delivered, call it out. If you don't feel brave enough to do it to the person, that's fine. That's absolutely okay. None of us feel brave about it, but try and tackle it in a more formal way. and then, sort of get it addressed. And many times it doesn't even come back to you because it could be done anonymously as well. So I have done that, and I have seen change happening. I've seen improvements as a student. So really important for you to know that literally you're the eyes and ears of the service. I wish trusts would talk to student midwives, because they can actually get the pulse of the service by talking to us. Okay. And lastly, I would say, take time out for yourself. This is not an easy course. We all know that it can get quite overwhelming at times, and you can feel that burning out sensation when literally nothing is going inside. Recognize that, take a step back, don't sit with your books during the weekend or when you get a day or two out of placement. Go out. I do cycling, and during summer I used to do some kayaking and things like that. So take time out for yourself, something that recharges you. Put midwifery away for a bit, and that's really important. That need to recharge so that you can come back full on and take as much as you can. And I keep doing that regularly, and that's what keeps me going. So these are my tips, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Do put it out in the chat for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this video from the Maternity and Midwifery Forum. For more expert opinion and analysis, hit the button below to subscribe.